My name is Emily Carter, and this is a story that has lived inside my heart for far too long. It's a story about family, silence, secrets, and the moment I couldn't take it anymore, the night I broke into my brother's room. When people hear the title, they might expect something dramatic in a destructive way, but for me, it was about reaching a breaking point, about love mixed with frustration, and about finally realizing that sometimes we must cross invisible lines to save the people we care about. Growing up, my brother Matthew and I were close in the way that siblings who are only a year apart often are. We went to the same schools, shared the same friends, and bickered constantly about who got the bigger slice of pizza or who got to control the television remote. But beneath the ordinary childhood squabbles, there was an unspoken bond. He was my brother, and I always thought of him as my partner in crime, my silent protector, the one person who understood me even when no one else did. But as we grew older, something shifted. Matthew pulled away. At first, I thought it was just the natural process of teenage years, that he was trying to figure himself out in a world that felt too big, too overwhelming. He stopped eating dinner with us, choosing instead to grab a plate and disappear upstairs. He stopped coming to family outings, making excuses about homework or feeling tired. His laughter, the loud, contagious kind that used to fill the house, grew quieter until eventually it vanished altogether. My parents chalked it up to teenage moods. They believed he was just going through a phase, and that if we gave him space, he'd find his way back to us.
But I knew it was more than that.
I could see it in his eyes when we passed each other in the hallway. There was a heaviness there, a weight he carried that I couldn't identify. And yet, he never spoke about it. Whenever I asked if he was okay, he brushed me off with a forced smile or a quick change of subject. Weeks turned into months, and his room became his fortress. The door was always closed, locked from the inside, and I hated how the lock seemed to separate not just his space but his heart from the rest of us. I would sometimes stand outside that door listening. Some nights, I heard music playing softly. Other nights, silence, so thick it scared me. And sometimes, faint sounds of crying that broke me in ways I can't fully describe. I wanted to help him. I wanted to shake him, to demand that he let me in, to remind him that he wasn't alone. But I didn't. I told myself I was respecting his privacy, that maybe he truly did just need time. Still, the guilt gnawed at me. Every day I did nothing felt like I was betraying him, like I was standing by while he drowned in something invisible. The turning point came one Saturday night. It was late, past midnight, and the house was quiet. I had been lying awake, staring at the ceiling, when I heard a sound coming from Matthew's room. It wasn't the usual muffled music or shifting of furniture. It was something else, an intensity, like restless pacing back and forth. My chest tightened. Without fully thinking it through, I got out of bed and walked down the hall, my bare feet pressing softly against the carpet. I stood outside his door, listening. His pacing stopped. Then there was silence. I don't know what overtook me in that moment. Fear, love, desperation, but I knew I couldn't stand outside anymore. I knocked lightly. "Matt? It's me. Are you okay?" No answer. I knocked again, harder this time. "Please, just say something." Still nothing. My pulse raced. I tried the handle, but of course it was locked. I don't know what gave me the courage or the recklessness, but I went downstairs, grabbed a spare paperclip from the kitchen drawer, and came back up. My hands were shaking as I tried to pick the lock the way I had once seen in movies. It took longer than I expected, my clumsy fingers fumbling, my heart pounding in my ears. Finally, the lock gave way with a soft click. I pushed the door open, and what I saw will forever be etched into my memory. The room was dark except for the glow of his computer screen. The curtains were drawn, the air heavy, almost suffocating. Clothes were scattered across the floor, empty soda cans on the desk. And there was Matthew, sitting on the edge of his bed, his face buried in his hands. When he looked up, I saw the rawness in his eyes, the tears, the exhaustion, the hopelessness he had been hiding. "What are you doing in here?" His voice was sharp, but underneath it, I could hear the tremble. I couldn't take it anymore, I admitted, my own voice breaking. I can't stand outside that door and pretend I don't know you're hurting. Please, Matt. You don't have to do this alone. For a moment, he just stared at me, like he didn't recognize me. Then something inside him cracked. He started to cry, not the quiet, hidden kind I had overheard before, but the kind that shakes a person from the inside out. I sat beside him, unsure if he would push me away, but he didn't. He leaned into me, his body trembling, and whispered words I'll never forget. I don't know how to keep going. Those words shattered me. They were heavy with despair, but they were also a release, the truth he had been burying under silence. I wrapped my arms around him, holding him as tightly as I could, as if my embrace could anchor him back to the world. That night, for the first time in months, he opened up. He talked about the pressure he felt at school, the loneliness he carried, the endless self-doubt that ate at him. He admitted he felt like a disappointment, like he wasn't good enough, like no one would understand. I listened. I didn't try to fix everything or offer solutions. I just sat there, letting him pour out the words he had been locking away along with his door. And slowly, I watched a flicker of relief appear on his face, as if speaking the truth had lifted even the smallest piece of the burden. When dawn broke, I promised him that we would get through this together. I told him I didn't care how many times he shut me out or how heavy the silence felt. I would always knock, always break down the walls if I had to. Because that's what family is. In the days that followed, Matthew agreed to talk to our parents. It wasn't easy. There were tears, misunderstandings, and moments of tension, but eventually, they understood that this wasn't just teenage moods. They helped him find a counselor, and though the road ahead wasn't magically smooth, it was a start. Looking back, I realized that breaking into his room wasn't just about opening a locked door. It was about breaking into the silence, into the barriers that pain and fear had built around him. It was about choosing love over hesitation, action over inaction. Sometimes, we think respecting someone's privacy means leaving them alone. But there are moments when love requires us to cross boundaries, to take risks, to be relentless in showing up for the people we care about. That night taught me that silence can be dangerous, that walls can isolate more than protect, and that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is to knock until the door opens, or open it ourselves. Today, my brother is doing better. He still has his struggles, like anyone does, but he's not carrying them alone anymore. We talk more, laugh more, and though I still sometimes worry when his door is closed, I know that we've built something stronger than silence. And I will never forget the night I broke into my brother's.